welcome to the Revero Success Story Podcast. I'm Tracy, your host. I'm a coach here at Revero, and we are here today to talk with Tessa. She's going to tell us all about her success on a meat-based diet. Hi, Tessa.
Hi, it's so good to be here, and I'm so excited to share my success. I really want to inspire people to try this way of eating because I think there's a lot of confusion and in my opinion, that comes from two places of like either one, people are just dedicated to like what everybody else is talking about, eat more fruits and vegetables, and they don't actually do the research for themselves, or two, they haven't tried it themselves. So
that's great. That's great. I'm glad you came to share your success with us. And if you wouldn't mind to start out by telling us what was your life like, your health conditions, and the foods that you ate prior to coming to a meat-based diet.
Oh man, well, so I've had a very long health journey to start. I was chronically ill for a number of years with conditions that were so bizarre that Western medicine was like, we don't know what to do with this girl. So, and I mean, I was severely underweight. No matter what I ate, like I was eating like, people thought I was like really anorexic, which I have suffered with eating disorders in the past, but at this time I wasn't. And I would eat tons of food, but I just was like 90 pounds. Like I would just float around 90 pounds. So I've tried pretty much every diet that you can name. I've done some wacky health stuff, and it's documented on my YouTube channel. So it's been a very public journey actually, which made it a little bit more difficult. But I tried, wow, vegetarian. I tried vegan, raw vegan. I did 5 meals a day. I did 3 meals a day. I mean, everything, you name it, I've tried it. And my health conditions, my health just started to continue to go downhill. I was losing hair, like I would go in the shower, my hair would just come out in palmfuls. I couldn't breathe. I had severe debilitating anxiety. I'm talking about the anxiety where I couldn't get off the floor at night. I would have panic attacks maybe 2-3 times a week. I was really depressed. I had vision problems. I almost had Bell's palsy, actually. It was really disturbing. Like my right eye would droop. I started losing exercise tolerance, and I've always been an athlete. Oh my gosh, my skin became very sallow. I mean, I had but number one, like I had really, really bad digestive issues. And I do believe it came from a round of antibiotics that I took about 12 years ago for a severe sinus infection. And I had anaphylaxis, and I was hospitalized for it. So I blew out my gut bacteria. And I remember the next night, my boyfriend and I at the time went to dinner, and I ate some food that I normally ate. And I felt like I had a cement brick in my stomach. And from that day on, basically, I like to tell people, like, I was like, I farted all the time. So it was a real detriment to like my social life and my dating life, right? So I was like listening to things about gas and like, cause I'm a researcher and a student. And I was like, how many times are we supposed to fart a day? And it was like 16. And I was like, man, I do that like every hour, like I was farting all the time. I was bloated. Despite being really skinny, I still had that like bloated belly. And I literally couldn't digest anything. It was debilitating. And I tried, again, probiotics. I tried cleanses. I tried fasts. I can't tell you how much coffee, pardon my language, I shoved up my butt for coffee enemas. I mean, I did everything I could to save my digestion. And that, I mean, my health was in shambles, 100%. And then it ended up that I got diagnosed with, then I went on a journey on my own, right? So I think that those of us in this world of health we kind of fall into this diet, maybe. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there because we're like, what is going on with me? No one can answer my questions. We stumble across the work of like Dr. ShawnBaker and these others, like Michaela Peterson too. And we kind of like go, oh, okay. But we have to find it on our own sometimes. And so basically, like, I was like, okay, I need to figure out what's going on with me. I made a YouTube video about it, and then I went on a search, and that's how I landed into the hands of some alternative doctors around the country, because I was just seeking them out, and I said, what's going on with me? And I ended up being diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. I have a certain genetic predisposition to not being able to detox toxins as well. It's called the HLA-DR SNP, SNP. And some people have varying levels of severity of that SNP, and mine is like the second to the worst. So I have troubles with detox just genetically, so I have to take extra precautions. So I was diagnosed with that, mold poisoning, chronic Lyme disease, severe macrocytic anemia, which for those of you out there, that means that your red blood cells get really big, and it's really, really uncomfortable, and it causes a whole host of issues. But the underlying cause, as I learned, was severe B vitamin deficiency. And that primarily takes place in the upper portion of your small intestine, which, because of my severe digestive issues, made sense. I wasn't absorbing B vitamins. So, I mean, I had a lot of problems.
My goodness, yes, that sounds like it was a lot of problems.
A ton.
But
Yeah.
So you tried a lot of different things as well, and you mentioned some of them. How did you ever come to a meat-based diet? I mean, how did you find out about that?
Yeah, it was cool. So I went to this naturopath, and he's kind of like, he's very well known in the world, but he's very underground, and he lives in Colorado Springs, and where I'm from. So I'm from Colorado Springs, Colorado, currently living in Texas, but I kind of like heard about this guy, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go talk to him, because again, I don't know, no one can help me. So I walked into his office. This is salted water, by the way. For those of you on the carnivore diet, like, salted water is where it's at. But I walked into his office, and I was so sick, right? And my guesstimation, I'm really bad with ages, because I'm still like, back then was just so, I had such bad brain fog that it's hard for me to distinctly pinpoint ages. So I apologize about that. It's much better now. That's another one of my symptoms that I had, was severe brain fog. Those of you out there who haven't know what I'm talking about. And I went in and I said, you know, I have this. And he was like, what are you eating? And at the time I was vegan. Okay. So, or maybe I had added eggs by that point. So I was super like vegetarian, vegan. And he sat me down and he was like, all right, here's what's going to happen to you by the time you're 33 if you don't start eating meat. And he laid it out. And I was like, oh God. You know, he's like, you're not going to have any hair. You're not going to be able to have kids. Oh, that's another thing that I had. I had no period for a decade. Okay. So I had lost my period for a decade, literally 10 years before going carnivore. So very interesting there. And I had no libido. So there's another thing. And then in his office, I had told him about this, and he told me, he said, by this time next year, I want you to come in here with raw fish and eat it on my desk. And I'm like, you know, like flipped in the bird. I was like, I don't think so. But then he introduced me to a book that a lot of people know of called Nourishing Traditions. And I started reading that, and I read the importance of organ meats, because I personally am a nose to tail carnivore. So I do take supplements that have organs in them. And I think that that's a really key component to this diet, is being nose to tail. And so I was like, but at the time I was so sick, I didn't care. I was like, you could tell me to put leeches on my body and dance around in a unitard downtown. I'll get better. I'll do it. Like, I don't care. I'm dying. And so I opened my mind. And that day I went and I got myself some salmon and I cooked it up and I was like, right. And so I was like, man, like I felt so good. Just that little bit of fish. And I started opening my mind up more and more to eating meat. Well, my digestive symptoms didn't go away. And so I, again, started to research more and more, and I realized, okay, I'm going to try keto. I'm going to do the keto diet. So went keto, realized my digestive symptoms started to get better, but still not to where I wanted them. So, and I still was suffering with my health. Not as bad. It was improving, but not to the level that I wanted it to. And then I just started cutting out, like, and I can look at this. I was looking back on my videos on my YouTube channel, and I really started to explore the carnivore diet around, I'm guessing, March to April 2018. And what really led me there was actually I stumbled across the work of somebody named Joyous and he's kind of a little known guy. He died tragically, maybe in Thailand years ago, but he was a proponent of the raw primal diet, like raw carnivore. And I stumbled across his work and I started reading up on ShawnBaker. I heard some interviews with ShawnBaker. I heard some podcasts with Michaela Peterson. And then also Joyous Vonderplanets. And it was almost like God, and I believe that God brings things into our lives when we need them if we're listening. And he just kept saying, all right, go this way, right? And so I would like get that little nugget and okay. But then I noticed that like, okay, the more that I eliminate these health foods that they keep talking about, right? Like fruits and vegetables and like, oh, eat your greens, you know? And like, I had a professor in my master's program. So I enrolled in a master's program for integrative medicine. And all my professors are physicians. And one of them, I was talking to her about my health issues and she's like, oh, you need to cut out those greens. You're eating way too many greens. And I was all, and she explained to me oxalates, the components in the greens that will like literally chop your intestines up like glass. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I eliminated it. And 3 days later, I was like, oh, I feel better. You know, and then it just led more and more down to the carnivore path. And I actually went raw carnivore for a period of time. So I was eating raw meat only. People were like, they freaked out. I was fine. And I went full on carnivore around October, November 2018. So that's what I can pinpoint it to. But again, like you can see the transformation in my videos, like going from super skinny anorexic to like, I started to have more of a glow. I started to feel less depressed. I started to have less anxiety. But yeah, and then that's kind of how I found the carnivore diet, and it's alternated over the years since. Do you want me to go into like how I'm eating now, or do you want me to?
Well, I was wondering how your transitional issues were, like when you went keto or some of the other steps along the way until you came to carnivore. Did you have transitional issues at all? Like tiredness or yeah.
Oh, okay. Like the keto flu kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I didn't experience the keto flu. But what I did experience was a little bit of fatigue. And like when I'd be in my exercise, like my workout, I would feel like I'm hitting that wall. Like I'd be like, oh, go, you know. But what I realized just scientifically and physiologically was that it was just going to take time for my body to shift its energy pathways, right? So when I'm coaching people, I'm like, okay, you may feel a little bit like blah for a little while, but that's just your body's way of going, all right. I'm like, you've been a sugar burner. So you've been burning gasoline, and right now we're transitioning you to burn natural gas. So you're going to have to get used to this new change in fuel. But there's, so I had that, but mainly, I mean, all I saw was up. I mean, because I was so dead, but I mean, yeah, that's really all I really remember. Oh, and I mean, my digestion improved. I did have like a decrease in my bowel movements, but I felt less bloated, so I started doing research on fiber and the myth around fiber. Everybody out there should read The Fiber Myth. It's a great book. I was all about fiber, and so I think that when I transitioned out of that, I was used to like pooping like 3-4 times a day. Yeah, which they tell you is healthy, right? And then you learn that it's not. So I kind of had to shift my thoughts around what like healthy digestion, like bowel movements, especially because that's a big thing in our community. Oh, I'm not having bowel movements. And like, well, they might be a bit different,
Right.
So that was really it.
Okay, so that doesn't sound too bad actually for you. And sometimes it just depends how fast you go and how long you've been eating a sad diet and so forth. So can you tell me, like, each one of your health conditions, how did they change after you went full carnivore?
Well, okay, so I have two different so I went carnivore, and then I had a period of time where I went back to like a regular diet, but that was just because of outside influences that I kind of had to deal with at the time. And then I came back to a carnivorous diet it had to have been October, November 2019. So I took a little break from the carnivore diet in the summer of 2019, but then I went right back to it October, November 2019. And really after that, like, I mean, it was pretty miraculous. I'm not gonna lie. And for one of the first things first, which was, I mean, it almost makes me cry today, is that let me say this too. This is important. I added in a lot more organs into my diet. So is it okay if I name a brand? And I don't get kickbacks for this brand. It's just a brand that I believe in.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So I don't get kickbacks for this brand, you guys, but like if you're looking for good, because I don't think that anybody out there wants to like eat beef brains really on a regular basis. That's just me. I don't mind liver, but like give me a kidney and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, and so I found Ancestral Supplements. They're a wonderful company. They're based out of Austin, just right up the road from me. And on their website, they have all kinds of like nerdy research about the importance of organ therapy, glandular therapy. And I added those into my diet. This is really cool. Oh, sorry, back up. I was on so many supplements, nutraceuticals, okay? Like I had bags of nutraceuticals. I like don't take any now, hardly any, okay? I use berberine every now and then. But I use my organs. Okay. So I use their thyroid glandular. I use their bone marrow, their organs. They have an organ complex. I use the liver. I love the liver. Their liver supplement. So I only use glandulars now. Again, I use berberine, but I used to take so many nutraceuticals, and I just don't anymore. I don't need them. It's so cool.
Do you find that the supplements you don't eat the liver itself?
I'll eat liver. Oh yeah. But it's hard to find really good sourced liver, and you need to be super careful about finding like grass-fed, grass-finished, you guys, because grass-fed may not mean grass-finished. I take theirs because it's from New Zealand. It's grass-fed, grass-finished cows. But when I can get my hands on liver, no problem. It's one of the best foods for you. And I added those glandulars in. I know this is a podcast about the carnivore diet, but personally, I was saved by Jesus Christ. So that's a whole different story. And he saved me in June 2019. It's a great story. So he came into my life, and I believe that God actually led me to this diet and the organs and, you know, incorporating all these things into my life. And then, you know, my mind started to get more clear. After I came onto this glandular nose to tail carnivore diet, my depression was like 80% better. My anxiety, which used to just, I couldn't function. Like there were days that I just couldn't function. Nowadays is like minimal. It's like a baby, you know, and it's so minimal to me now, which is the biggest relief, you know. My anxiety started to just lift, you know, and I'm not saying I don't have my days, right? Like we all have days where it's harder, but mine are faster to work through. Energy levels off the chains. I mean, it's 5:30 here in Texas right now, and I do OMAD now. So I do OMAD. Sometimes I'll have like a second little snack of beef jerky later at night, but I usually just eat one big meal a day. It's better for my digestion, you know, and my digestion is amazing. I rarely ever get bloated anymore. I'm not farting all the time, which is awesome. You know, cause like that's a big detriment when you're trying to date, like, you know, like, no. So like the farting went away. I started putting on muscle, just like nobody's business. Like, you know, I started putting on muscle, my skin started to get better. My hair, it's still like, it's still thin, but it's not, it's like, it's getting a lot healthier. Oh my gosh. Well, by blood results, so macrocytic anemia, you can see on your blood results by something called the MCV. And my MCV was at 104, which is like way over the healthy limit. And it's like, if you're at 98, you're teetering on it. And mine was at 104, 105, and it just kept going up. Okay. And I was taking 15 grams, not milligrams, 15 grams of B vitamins a day. It didn't budge. Started doing glandulars, went carnivore, boop, 95. So my macrocytic anemia was, oh, it gives me chills, almost cured. My clarity of mind is just so spot on. Again, I have my days. Sleep is better. My libido is amazing. Miraculously, on June 2nd, 2020, I got my period back as if it had never left. So after literally a decade of having no period, and I took every hormone test you could try. I tried bioidentical hormones. I did everything. Gone. No period. And it came back. Like it had never left. It was a miracle. And I mean, it's just literally everything has improved. And I'm not saying that to be hyperbole. It's true. And people come up to me all the time and they're like, you look so healthy. You must eat so many fruits and vegetables. And I'm like, I just die. I'm like, ha ha, nah, I don't eat any. And they're like, what? And I'm like, nah, I don't even touch salad ever. So yeah, like pretty much everything is improved.
Awesome. That sounds wonderful. Can you kind of give me an idea? What do you normally eat in a day? Do you include dairy? Do you include tea or coffee, or what kind of foods do you eat too?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm very regimented about how I eat, but I'm actually a lot looser than I used to be, which is very cool. This diet actually also like pretty much like has helped cure me of my eating disorder issues. So for those girls out there that are suffering with anorexia or bulimia, like this diet can also help you with that. This way of eating, and it's very close to my heart because I struggled with that since I was like 14. I was hospitalized twice for it. So, you know, and like this has given me a lot of freedom and a lot of peace of mind. And some people may say like, oh, this way of eating is an eating disorder. And I'm like, no. Like, this way of eating is how we are built as humans to be eating. And there's irrefutable evidence of that. I can go into that later if you want. But what I eat in a day, I wake up, I have my salted water always with me. And I only use pink Himalayan sea salt or Celtic sea salt. So I drink water. I do like my iced coffee. I have coffee, but I like cold brew because it's higher in antioxidants. But I always make sure I'm a source nerd. So it's organic, like from really good beans. I use a brand called Chameleon. You can find it at grocery stores all over the country. Again, I don't get kickbacks for this. It's just the brand that I like. People like brands. So, and then, let's see. Then I just fast all day. So I'll have like mineral water, like Topo Chico is like my thing. Love Topo Chico. So I drink Topo Chico. I have my coffee. I fast all day. Then I run in the mornings. So I do like a 40-minute, I do a 5K every day. Empty stomach, guys. So like, you don't need anything. Like when you're a fat burner, you don't need that. So I run a 5K every morning. And then I go to the gym after I'm done working for the day about 5 to 6. And just so you guys know, Dr. Jack Cruz, another really good resource for carnivore people. It's better to work out for your cortisol levels in the afternoon, just so you know. So that's why I format my life that way. But I generally work out heavy, hard. Like, I'm not a light workout person, and I lift really heavy weights. I do cardio, I do acrobatics, and I do that for 2 hours in the evening. Fasted, again, nothing on my system. And then I will sit down for my meal. And I eat anything like meat, right? So some nights I'm like, man, I really need a steak. Like, I need a ribeye. Other nights I'll have poultry. But I prefer the dark meat of chicken. So I'll do like dark meat chicken. If I have light meat chicken, I make sure to add butter or ghee. I do use some coconut oil. I do like coconut oil still. I actually noticed that my body temperature stays more regulated when I have coconut oil. I've done experiments. It's interesting. I don't use a lot, maybe a tablespoon a day. But I also like ghee over butter. I do better with ghee. I'll have pork. I love bacon. I'll have I usually have like 2 to 3 sausages, chicken sausages. I use like Applegate Farms or ones that aren't too I make sure that they're clean sourced, hormone free, like very clean ingredients. If they have additive things, like maybe they'll have like a little bit of pepper or something, but it's clean sausages. I love sausage. So I'll generally eat, let's see, I'll go by what I had maybe 2 nights ago, because last night was just but like 2 nights ago, I had like a big, like 16-ounce rare ribeye, because it's, do not ever overcook your meat. You'll kill the B vitamins. So I eat rare steak. I had some bacon bits on the top. I had butter to dip it in. I also had some ahi tuna. No guacamole. I had poke at a restaurant, but I asked them to remove the guacamole, the avocado. I'll sometimes have avocado, but not a lot. I live in Texas. Guacamole is everywhere, so sometimes it's unavoidable. But and I had that, and then that's all I had that night. And then I'll usually just like hang out with friends or whatever. But then at night when I come home, I do like to have raw cheese. So it's a big difference when you have pasteurized versus raw. And you can legally find like raw cheeses anywhere. Raw milk that's a funny situation, but raw cheese is legal. It's much better for your gut microbiome. It's a great way for carnivores to do the gut microbiome, thing. Like you don't need sauerkraut, you guys. Like, you can eat raw cheese. So I'll have like maybe an ounce. I don't eat a lot, maybe 1 or 2 ounces of raw cheese. And I do have a keto cereal that I love. I love it. It's my little thing. And it's keto. It's very clean. It's called Catalina Crunch. And then I do use monk fruit extract on that. So I'll just sprinkle a little bit of monk fruit extract on the top of that. And I use a little bit of coconut oil on the cereal. So I know it's a weird little combination, but it's wonderful to me. Now, if I go out to eat and I go out to eat a lot, I always just get meat dishes, but I never get vegetables. They're always like, what sides would you like? I'm like, nothing. They're like, what? I'm like, no, I don't need anything, just meat. I'll have a glass of wine maybe once a month. Not even, maybe that much. I don't really like to drink. So, but I'll have a glass of wine. I might taste a dessert, like have a tiny, like a bite of a dessert, but I don't eat it. Like my body craves different things now. So I crave beef jerky. So I'll have like beef jerky at night if I get a little bit hungry. My snacks are, beef jerky and, but I don't really snack. I just do my big meal. And then at night before I go to bed, I just have a little something. Let's see. That's really, I do use some sauces from Primal Kitchen. I salt everything. Salt is really important. I salt everything. I even bring my own little pink Himalayan sea salt with me everywhere. And then, I use apple cider vinegar to help me digest meat. So I'll have like maybe a teaspoon to a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar before I eat. And I'll use some ginger, but not really like a lot. Just for digestion, I think it helps me. But yeah, that's what I eat in a day.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tessa, for sharing your success. You seem like you've had tremendous success and miraculous, as you mentioned. So I really appreciate you coming to share with everyone. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. And thank you to ShawnBaker, Dr. Baker, for putting himself out there and for this entire community. And if you guys want to reach me, I'm sure we can put my contact information in the description box. Or
actually, they don't usually, but you can add it in the comments if you want to.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll do that. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm happy to talk to them about, like if they have questions about what this interview was, or more of the nerdy science around it is. Yeah. So
you know a lot of those things. That's cool. Thank you.
Well, it's just how we're built. It's just how we're built.
True.
So
thank you.
Well, Bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Bye-bye.
Join Revero.health for a 30-day free trial to get access to live Q&A with VIP guests, social community meetings, member discounts, low-carb healthcare providers list, forum, workouts, monthly challenges, early access to podcasts, recipes, carnivore diet guide, fasting guide, shred guide, and much more.